My mother was born somewhere in Mississippi, but she was raised in St. Louis. Granny had 14. My grandmother had 14 kids. Margaret William Moore. My mother was the oldest. My mother was born when she was 15 years old. And it was said that her father was run out of town. And that's why Mama never met her father. That's why she's Williams. Mama always claimed herself William. But Moore came under my uncle, son, and Aunt Bernice, my mother's brother and sister. Grandma married Mr. Moore, and he gave my mother the name Moore. That's how she became a Moore. My father was born in Korean, Mississippi. Now where that is, I don't know. John Wesley Odom. I knew not much of my father's background in school, but my mother was a scholar in school. She went to a Catholic high school in St. Louis. And during that time, she also, if you can remember, Lyon Hamilton, a great musician that played the xylophone, that was a very close friend of hers. My father was a man that loved his own business, so he was a vegetable man. He sold vegetables. He started off with a horse and buggy in a wagon, and then he went into a truck. My mother was like a housekeeper. She worked in laundries, hand laundries, where you used them real heavy irons, no electric irons, where they used to press clothes. She was a extreme good ironer. She could put every pleat, every crease that needed to be in a piece of material. She was very smart. She loved to sing opera, and she was funny. She loved to dance for her grandchildren. My grandparents' background is very scarce to my mind. My grandfather on my mother's side was her step-grandfather, and he was a man that worked in the stockyards where they create lard that we used to use for shortening. They kill hogs, and in fact, he's the one that got my father a job in the stockyards. That's all I know about him. He was a very religious man, and he was an usher in his church, a Monumental Baptist Church in Chicago. My grandmother, she was a woman that dominated the family. She was the bank, the money keeper, the good advice, the discipline. She learned me a lot to be able to raise my children as far as taking care of them properly, feeding them, cooking. She's the one on my mother's side that helped me make those rolls that you eat today. They got better, but she was the one that taught me. That's all I can say about them. She was a churchgoer. They belonged at the same church, and in Monumental. And she was the mother of the church, one that sit out where everybody go. I don't know you all know about this, but the bench that you go to talk to the mothers of the church when you needed advice from a woman, like a mother or, you know. And that's what she did in churches those days. My grandfather on my father's side was from Africa. I wish I knew all that history. I've never sit down and talk. He has an accent. He had teeth that was real sharp and come to a point. When he wasn't working, my father took care of him. He took care of his parents, his mother, which was my grandmother, Betty, My grandfather was named John Wesley. That's when my father was John Wesley Jr. And my grandfather was a man that just sit and tell stories. He told one once where his brother and him was on a boat, and he didn't know how to swim. And so the father told him never go on this river. And they went anyway on some little canoe. And the canoe turned over. And guess how he got his brother back? From the distance that on his back. They swam all the way back to shore. And they would never go in the water again. And he slept on a cart that army men used to sleep on in the army. He folded up and he would not sleep in a bed. He slept in this cart every time I knew him. We never had a bed for him. And he was good with his hands. He could do funny things, tricks, with his hands. He could make his fingers look like animals on the wall. He could do many things with his fingers. He was a funny man, little man, short. My father was short, too. They were no taller than, I say 5'5". I'm 5'1". That's where I got my shortness from. My grandfather also was a man that started me in singing. When he would go to sleep, when he would get on his cot, he'd say, "Rosie, come here." And he wanted me to sing because I went to church. And he didn't go to our church. They were Methodists and we were Baptists. Everyone from Africa seemed to be Methodists, of Methodist religion. So anyhow, he used to say, "Sing a song." And it was a song that he said, before you start singing, say 1, 2, 3, and you'll get your right key. And that's what I used to do. But the reason why I say that, it was a song that I cherish today, and I think some of my children know it. That is, I must tell Jesus. Because the day that I had to sit with him during his sickness, that's the only time he slept in a bed, because he died at home. And it was a song, I must tell Jesus. And I had to sing that song with him until somebody touched me. I don't remember who it was. And I had to leave the room. I was grown. I wasn't grown, but I was a teenager. And I left the room, and he said, "I must tell Jesus," when I walked out that room. And then from then on, he had gone deceased, but I've never seen him again. They didn't allow us to go to funerals, the children, when I was a teenager. Well, I think I was about 14. Jesus can help you, Jesus alone. That was our favorite song. 15, I remember well, because I was going with Paul Rogers when my grandfather died. During my grandfather's sickness, I was his caregiver that we call today, but I was the child to take care of him. I was to be able to, I just finished high school and was planning on going to college, and my Mamie came to me. That's my grandfather's daughter, the only daughter he had. She was a costumist, seamstress, and she worked out in town in the Chicago Theater, making costumes for different opera plays, mostly opera, not classics and nothing, opera. She worked among the opera. And she said, "Rosie, you're not going to be able to go to college," because she was going to be the one to send me. And she said to me, she said, "I want you to take care of my father. I want you to stay home, because he can't be by himself and everybody's working. But you're the one that has to stay home, and I'll pay you like a salary to take care of him." And so that's what happened between me going to college. But in the meantime, it's taking care of my grandfather. He was no longer talking, he wasn't speaking. He lost his voice, and he just deteriorated I saw him from a nice, healthy man to a thin man. But I learned in taking care of my grandfather that it was the most wonderful thing you could do. But it's a thing that a child should never do because it hurts them so much. You know, to be there taking care of their grandfather because they love him. You know, they're close to them as their dad. But in the meantime, I was in love with a young man, which name was Paul Rogers. We were together ever since I was 16, really. But I was going to school and he was going to school. And we had our first baby, which was Paul Milton Rogers, Sabu of today. That's our love baby. Our first. So I couldn't go to school, you know. And I couldn't tell my parents. I was exactly 18 and a half. You know, 18, I was 18. Because I had Sabu when I was 19, just turning 19. And it was amazing. It was just amazing. But it stopped my career in going to school. All my girlfriends went to school. They were teachers, you know, great young ladies. But they used to come and see me all the time. Half of them was my godmothers, my girlfriends, that in a club we called the Gay Pals. We was the Gay Pals, 7 of us. And they were all teachers. One was a singer, one was a dancer. That's what I wanted to be, a dancer. That's what I really wanted. Me and my sister used to tap dance at Sadie Bruce. I took piano, which I didn't study to show myself approved. And today I wish I could play the piano, you know. And we miss out on the things that we need to do because we're stubborn. We do what we want to do, you know. So it's good to listen to your parents. You achieve so much more. I went to DeSable High School. I graduated in this year. We graduated in the fall and the summer. It was like A and B. And I was the one that graduated in January of 1948 from DeSable High School. My principal's name was Mr. French. That's the first black principal that started in the city of Chicago, was at DeSable High School. Captain Dad was also a man of music. I tried to get in a lot of hijinks because he was the producer. A lot of great saxophones and bass fiddlers came out of DeSable. In fact, Wendell Phillip and DeSable was competing with what Captain Dad, because they both wanted him, but he chose us. And he went to Wendell Phillip to help, so he wouldn't make himself so scarce. But in that meantime, I wanted to go in show business. See how your mind changed? You want to do so many things, you know. I'm talking about Paul, my better half. It was amazing how we met. I wasn't interested in boys too much because I was a tomboy myself. And I just played with him, had a good time, playing baseball, ice skating and stuff like that. I did have a boy that I really liked, and that was Pete Cathy. But anyway, to let you know how I met, we always cleaned our vacant lot and clean-up week, or you call it spring cleaning and all that. And Paul came here for a week for that vacation. And I don't know how true this is. Somebody told him, he must have spotted me, because somebody told me, you know what, we told Paul that you was a hard girl to catch. So what you telling that boy that for, you know? And I said, I don't even care. And from then on, about 2 weeks later, he knocked on my door. He hadn't even went back to school. You know, all I know, he had came. I asked who the new boy was, you know, gonna play baseball with us and everything. And he said, his name is Paul, he's from Louisiana. And he will be playing ball. So anyway, I thought nothing of it. But he didn't go to school. He didn't go back to school. After that game, I saw nothing of Paul Rogers. And then about 2 or 3 weeks later, somebody knocked on my door, and it was him. And he said, I just come to see you. I answered the door. I said, what you doing here? I thought you were going back to school. He said, I ain't going back to school. You're going to be my girlfriend. I said, no, I'm not. And I said, Daddy? And he ran down the stairs. I called my daddy. And that's the first time my daddy really saw Paul. You know, because he came right to the door and looked at us and said, what's wrong? And he ran down the stairs. From then on, Paul became around me all the time. Him and Pete Kathy, and around me and Josephine. So Josephine liked Pete too. We both liked Pete. And so she got Pete, and I got Paul. But that's the truth. I said, he didn't snatch me off my feet. He took me off my feet, you know, because he went everywhere. He was there. He was there in the backyard, sitting on the stairs that goes up to our place, because that's where we always ran down the back stairs instead of coming through the vestibules of our apartment. We weren't allowed to come in the front way too much, just the back stairs, you know, and don't ring the bells and all that. Just come on upstairs to your apartment. We were very disciplined about that. Our parents didn't want us to do that. In fact, the whole building's kids had to do that. They couldn't come. The vestibule had rugs and real pretty banisters, you know, where they polished them and everything, coming in the front way. But they want us coming the back way, so we wouldn't get in the habit of writing on the walls or sitting on the stairs, having friends, you know, there. Because we done it. We had got in the vestibule and just sit on the stairs because it was nice and soft and the rugs were clean. And we just court on the stairways in the vestibules of our building. Ain't that amazing? Close to home. One thing we ain't got nothing, no business to do. I had to share that with you. Chicago was a very, very clean, wonderful city. Parents was, just like you being checked today, checked us, made sure that our discipline was way beyond speaking out of turn or talking back. Paul was a very polite man. He had a lot of class, something different from the boys in Chicago. Then eventually we became one at 16 years old. He was 15 and a half. I was 16. We went together. He never touched me until I was 19, 18 years old. Probably could have had a child way before then if that was the gesture of our lives, but it wasn't. And I think our parents learned us a lot about our bodies, a little more, as far as they're yours. Don't be giving your bodies away. And we did that. We did that. We respected what they told us. One thing I want to say, it's the most wonderful thing to grow up with your sweetheart, and be disappointed in life that you're not going to be with them all your life. We're both living, you know? And that's the tragedy of that kind of relationship. We're not going out in the world experiencing the difference in different people as to marry the first man or whatever it is in your life. But everybody got to make their choices. My children, I'm very thank God that Paul and I had P.Sabu, Tasman, Marguerite, Bernard, Sharon, my Sharon's dead. My oldest child, P.Sabu, who was named Paul Rogers II, nicknamed Skipper. He laughs at that name, but that was the name I give him. My oldest girl, Taslan. Taslan Consul was Anita Lucille Rogers. That's her given name. And a lot of people don't know that, but those that look at this, this is what I named her, and her father. And Renard was in the Navy a long time. I think about 22 to 24 years. It was his life in the Navy.
There you are with your Uncle Renard,
Yeah,
huh?
we sitting here in California chilling with the new generation, with the young generation.
Young lady.
The next president and vice president of the United States of America.
Who's the president?
Don't matter. Y'all both gonna be running things. So when y'all become president and vice president, remember it was your uncle who sat here in 2010 and made that prediction. So when y'all do y'all inauguration speech, y'all gotta say my name. Cool?
Okay.
Cool. I'm with you. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you. Yeah.
Marguerite has always been a wonderful culinary artist, but now she's a chef cook. Tahan is my baby son, and he's quite precious, a very nice young man. Something special about him was he was a little boy. He had curly blonde hair, and everybody called him Goldie. And he was a favorite of all the children. Jar crazy about him. I have to put that in. Jar tried to take my baby, but we had fun with that. And Trishelle, spoiled, went on a life of her own, left her beautiful mama, and went to live with her sister, where she had Tatiana, Starlet, and Davion. They lived mostly their life in Colorado, Denver, Colorado, and in the life as they lived it, Trishelle became a mother of many grandchildren, and the most precious thing of it now is so much involved in that, but they are beautiful children. We all love them. And Tatiana, I pray for her. And one day in life, she will be great. So many stories to tell.